Yo, what's up guys? Literally just got off my Twitch stream. And it's Sunday night, meaning I gotta post a new YouTube video tomorrow. And so I thought, since it's late night chill vibe, I could do a quick story time, possibly one of the craziest times of my life. And I've told it before on like my Twitch streams. Everyone's like, yo, that's one of your craziest stories. But first, just in case like just in the future, everything I say in the story is a joke. Everything is completely made up and not real for legal purposes. Use this as more a cautionary tale, okay? Just be careful out there. Because there's some real freaks out here, guys. So basically this all happened like 2-3 years ago when I moved to Texas. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love Texas. And so I guess this is a story of how I lived in Texas. So basically what happened was I moved from New York to my dream location, Wilmington, North Carolina. So I get to Wilmington, I'm living there with my then girlfriend at the time. I won't bore you with all the crazy details of that story, but things didn't work out. And the breakup was super messy. Not one where you guys could just sleep in different rooms and figure out where like you were going, where you were moving, the lease and stuff like that. It was the type of breakup where I had to get out of there as soon as possible. And I remember this was like the very beginning of like my streamer social media career. And I had just moved all my stuff my whole life from New York to Wilmington. So to say the least, I wasn't super thrilled that I had to pack all my stuff up and move again. My family was just 4 hours away on the western side of North Carolina. So like I had somewhere to go, I could go home to my family. And my family is super chill, so like it wouldn't be a problem. But the one downside about staying with my mom and pops is that my mom and dad live out in the middle of nowhere. And they have the worst internet. Like growing up, if we wanted a game, me and my brother would have to get everyone in the house off the internet. Take everyone's phones off, tablets, etc. just so we could load up and play Overwatch on the PlayStation. So with my streaming career and social media career just kind of taking on, go home and take a big break from streaming. So the night the breakup happened, I did still go on stream and kind of just let you guys know in the community that I was going through a breakup. And I posted it and mentioned it onto my other social medias. And I remember at the time when it first happened, this couple reached out to me. And they had always watched like my TikTok content and some of my Twitch streams. But honestly, for the most part, they just left like comments and stuff on my TikToks. But I guess he had caught my live or something. And he mentions to me he lives in this giant house in Texas with his wife and one kid. Alright, this ski mask was on the floor, so it's gonna save the day and keep my hair out of my eyes for the rest of this story. Yeah, so basically this guy in Texas said he was super rich, had a super great job, and was super blessed. And I could come stay with him and his wife and one kid. And he had a huge house in Dallas. I'd even have my own room to sleep in and my own room just to stream in. Like I said, he heard this the night the breakup happened. And then he sent me that DM. And I didn't think too much of it. He was one of the people in my community that I didn't know super well. And how crazy would that be living with some strangers in their house with their kid? And I don't even know what this dude looks like. I've never seen his face on any of his socials. But I always remember him just being kind of chill, supportive, you know, when he's in my Twitch streams or my TikToks or whatever. So a couple days go by after the breakup, and I'm trying to figure out where to go. If I have a friend that has good enough internet, all my family members lived out in the middle of nowhere, so like their internet was always doo-doo garbage. And I couldn't really afford to get into a place super soon. So then I remember that dude in Texas saying I could come live at his place rent-free and stream, and that he had amazing internet and all the works. Thinking this was too good to be true, and I was going crazy because, mind you, I was still living in a one-bedroom apartment with my ex, who I desperately wanted to get away from and just get away from the whole situation in general. So I remember one night I got extra desperate with some circumstances and situations that were happening, and I asked him to FaceTime me so I could just see the house, see him, and just see what was up. I don't know, just have some kind of idea of if I did do this, what I would be going into. He had a super big house from what I saw through the FaceTime, in a super nice neighborhood with like the gate, homeowner association, all that fancy stuff. I'm gonna let you know, but I might take you up on that offer. I was so desperate to keep streaming, and this whole social media journey has been my dream since I was a kid. So I really wanted to keep that dream alive and keep traveling so I could stream. So I got the phone with the dude that night, and there was a big argument between my ex and I, and some things went down. And that really nailed it into my head, like, I'm gonna go to Texas. I'm out of here. Like, fuck this. I'm gonna get out of here and go to Texas. So I remember I called my parents that night. Out of the blue, just dropped this on. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go stay in Texas. Well, I try to find a place to go. Like, told my mom to keep her calm. Like, yeah, I got some friends down there, some people I know. It's gonna be safe, not gonna be a big deal. But I barely know these people. I don't know the wife or the kid at all. So I packed up all my personal belongings that would fit in my Jeep and everything I possibly could into my Jeep that night and left for Texas. And let me just put it into context. During this time period, I was not sober. My sleep schedule was worse than ever. I had just gone through a breakup, and so I was definitely manic and upset. This was definitely my crazy arc. At least the craziest I had been personally. It's me and Jinx, my cat. We take the 14, 15, 16-hour trip through the night to Texas. So I'm driving all night, hadn't slept, just got off stream, just had this big fight, just called my parents, been going through all these emotions. I'm emotionally so exhausted at this point, but I'm just going. And I was like, I don't want to miss a single stream. I want to get there that day, set up my stuff, and stream. And so I think I get to Texas the next day, and there is a time change. So I think I get there between 2 and 3 p.m. And I remember the whole trip to Texas was an emotional trip. Just driving through the night, no one to talk to, just went through a breakup, moving states. Life was just crazy, bro. I felt crazy. I didn't know what my next step was. I didn't know what I was doing, where I was going. I didn't know anything at that point other than I wanted to keep grinding. And I felt kind of lucky to get this opportunity here in Dallas, Texas, where I can meet other content creators, keep streaming, and keep grinding, making content. So I get to Texas, and I hadn't slept in probably like 30 some hours. So I was exhausted, I was crazed, I was tired, I was hungry. It's the middle of summer, so it's super hot. And so I get to Texas, and I remember I called the dude. I'm like, yo, I'm 6 hours from your place, because Texas is huge. Just getting into Texas is like half the battle. So I'm telling him, like, yo, I'm about 6 hours out. I'll be there soon. And he's like, all right, cool. Hopefully I'll be there when you get there, but I might be out working. And I was like, okay, whatever. And he told me he worked in software. Like, he worked with software and computers and stuff like that. I was like thinking, dope. So I'm still driving to the address he gave me. I get there, I text him. So I get to the house, and they have a long driveway, and I drive down the driveway, and there's this giant house, like the whole columns in the front and everything type deal. And it's a nice, beautiful house in a nice, beautiful community in Dallas. And I remember I get there, and the first thing I do is I call and I text them. I'm like, yo, you here? Like, what's going on? Because it's like 100 and some degrees in the Texas summer heat. I got my cat, my car, my PC. I want to get those inside so the heat doesn't hurt Jinx, damage my computer. And he says, I'm not home, but my wife is. Just walk in, take the stuff in you need to take in, and relax. I was like, okay, cool. And so I take in my computer and Jinx first thing, and I pour litter for Jinx and cat food and get some water for him. Like, hello? And it's like this big house, right? This is weird, and I got my stuff. I shut the door. I'm like, hello? And I'm just walking around this big house, like a super long table, fireplace. And I get towards the end of the house, and I notice the door cracked open. I can hear the TV, and I can smell marijuana coming from the room. And I'm like, hello, and I open the door. And to keep this simple and to not mention any names, we're just gonna call her Amy and him Albert. Hello back, a woman's voice. And I assume it's Amy, Albert's wife. And she goes, oh, come in. And so I go in there, and their room is super, like, bougie. Like, it's got a nice big bed. So I open the door, and there's a nice big king-size bed, the big backboard, like, wooden carved designs, a mirror, a giant mirror on the ceiling above the bed, flat screen TV in front of it. And she was sitting on, like, the edge of the bed. We're looking at each other as I walk in, and she has, like, a little gold rolling tray. She was like, Albert told me you love to smoke, so I'm rolling you up a joint. I was just like, oh. And then I said, I'm exhausted. Jinx is like looking around everywhere, so I'm like keeping a side eye on Jinx because he's in this big brand new house. I'm like super overwhelmed, exhausted, and kind of like just on edge about what's going on. So next thing I notice is she's wearing basically almost a see-through little satin bathrobe. Like covers like barely her thighs, barely covered anything, and basically her cleavage was super out. Because she had all the work done. Giant fake boobs, fake lips, Botox injections, tons of tattoos. You can buy it to modify your body to make you look more bougie. She had it. She wanted to smoke a joint. And I was like, sure. And I was already feeling super uncomfortable because this dude is letting me stay in his place rent-free. It's super nice, all this dope stuff. And then how, like, his wife is barely dressed, trying to smoke a joint with me, like, on his bed. And, like, telling me to come, like, sit in the bed with her. This is gonna be a disaster. Like, this is like a murder mystery waiting to happen. So, anyways, I walk over to the edge of the bed. I'm sitting on the edge of the bed. We're sitting next to each other on the edge of the bed. Probably about this far apart. We're hitting it. We're smoking a joint together. And she was like, you want to watch something on Netflix? And I'm exhausted. I hadn't slept like 30 hours. Now I'm getting high. With a complete stranger. I just went through a breakup. My whole mindset was completely like tweaking. And I was like, sure, we can watch something. And then she was like, what do you like to watch? And I was like, trying to think of anything. I was like, I guess we can watch Breaking Bad. And I just remember she turned on Breaking Bad. And I just had like a moment. Like, time froze, and I was like, I was just in North Carolina with a girlfriend living a perfect, happy life. Next thing you know, I'm in Texas smoking with a complete bimboed stranger in the middle of nowhere with no sleep. I don't know what's going on, don't know what my next move is, don't know where my next meal is coming from, literally. Like, how fast life changes. I'm just sitting here watching Breaking Bad, just like I had done a million different times, but now just in Texas with a complete stranger in like their bedroom. And so we're hitting the joint, we're smoking, we're making small talk. She's asking me about, if I have brothers, sisters, just a little bullshit like that, right? And she gets a little closer to me, and like at this point, her like sitting shoulder to shoulder, smoking. And I just feel the vibes she was putting on. So I kind of had to hit a move, kind of like, I just drove like 15, 16 hours. I gotta get my stuff in and work tonight, so I'm exhausted. I'm gonna go carry the rest of my stuff and get that set up and try to get a little nap in before I gotta stream tonight. She was like, oh, okay, have fun. And that might not seem like a huge deal, but that is just the beginning, the first inclination that I should have honestly latched onto sooner about what I was fully getting myself into the time I was gonna be staying with them in Texas. So basically that night I got some of my stuff settled, and he got home while I was putting my stuff. When I came out, I was talking to him, shook his hand, met him, thanked him. His wife came out, Amy, but she was dressed this time, and she was gonna start making dinner. And he seemed super nice, and he seemed super chill. And I even got to see and meet their daughter, who they basically kept like in a whole separate section of the house by herself, and just gave her and bought her whatever she wanted. She was so super spoiled. But to be honest, I felt really bad for her because they were the type of rich parents that kind of didn't like give her any attention. So we eat dinner, everything's chill. I go finish with my setup. While I'm setting my computer up, he's talking to me. We're shooting this shit like it's no big deal. It's super chill. And it's getting late by this point, so I was like, I gotta stream soon. So the next day and the next coming weeks is where things start to get really strange and weird and dangerous in some ways, I guess. So basically over the next coming days, he was always working. And I would come to soon find out what he said he did for work, he didn't actually do. This is one of the last times I was ever like this naive and gullible about people. But over the coming days and weeks, his wife Amy would make these come-ons, like these like flirtatious or just barely wear anything around the house. He wasn't there, inviting me to go out and help her with chores, groceries, go out on basically dates with her. I'd always have to kind of like worm my way out of it in a smooth way, because like I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings, hurt anyone's emotions. Like I didn't want to upset her and have her kick me out in the street. I wanted to tell her husband and him get mad at me and like try to beat my ass. And I could tell she was getting more and more agitated with my rejections. She started about a weekend, be like, you live with us, you eat our food, we pay all your bills basically, but you can't go out bowling or watching a movie with me. And I'd always play off like, yo, and I appreciate that, I really do. And like, if you guys ever want me to help out the bill, or you never need anything, let me know, and I'll try my best to see what I can do. But like at night, I stream. Like that's what I do. I stream every single night, and I don't miss a night of streams. So then basically this was probably like 2 or 3 weeks in, and like I said, it was just multiple weird sexual encounters and interactions that could have went somewhere but didn't. It was honestly starting to make me feel like super uncomfortable, to the point where I was like calling my mom every single night, like yo, can you guys help me find somewhere to live in North Carolina as soon as possible? So basically I would say about 3 weeks in is where things took a toxic turn. One night late, basically I came out after streaming and I sat down and I was eating a snack on the couch, and I was just chilling, and she came out of her room butt ass naked, literally no clothes on, no nothing, and just sat in my lap and proceeded to try to kiss me. And listen, this was the weirdest part. I still had like, I remember when I was eating maybe cereal or something, and I was like, and like she's sitting on me, I still got this bowl of cereal, I'm just like, oh god, like, I'm gonna spill my cereal. Like, you could at least like taken it from my hand or give me a second to finish. Anyways, I was just like, oh damn, I'm eating. Let me put this down real quick. And then that's when it finally had to be like, I had to like address the elephant in the room. It's not that I don't find you attractive, and like, to be honest, she wasn't bad looking. Like, she was about 36. She had a lot of work done. She had a crazy personality. Like, don't even get me started how crazy these people were. An awful parent, and did tons of drugs. I was like, it's not that I don't find you attractive, it's just like, I appreciate all you did for me, all Albert, your husband's done for me, giving me a place to stay and all that stuff, and I don't ever want to disrespect him or your family by doing that. And she basically was like, and like, did like a little chuckle. She chuckled, and this is where I learned what their true intentions were this whole time. Like, I remember this vividly, she's like, honey, he doesn't care. What? And she was like, he wants us to get together. Oh, basically this couple wanted to spice up their love life, spice up their relationship, and add a third to the relationship, but just a dude who would bang the wife, who would like bang his wife while he was at work, or like he wanted to watch or something. When she said that, I was just like, and I think she could tell I was actually like taken aback. I didn't realize this. And she was like, yeah, that was kind of like she I think she realized, and we both realized that like I didn't realize that's why I was here for, and she thought that like we both knew. Like, she thought that we all knew, we were all on the same page, but we weren't. And so I was like, I had no idea, honestly. He never mentioned or said anything about it to me. This is like all so much, like, I'm gonna need some time to think. I was like, I'm gonna need some time to think about it and figure this out. She seemed kind of frustrated, but I feel like she got it, I thought at least. Super awkward. I was like, I'm just gonna go shower off, get ready for bed. It's been a late night. For the next day, I'd always wake up early before they would, and I would go to the gym. When I get back from the gym, Albert was in the kitchen waiting for me with his coffee. Like, yo, hey man, can we talk? And I was like, yeah. Amy told me you guys will talk last night. I was like, dude, I'm sorry, like, you know. And I still didn't fully believe her. Like, I thought maybe she told him, like, I came on to her or something. So, like, I was kind of worried about, like, what he was gonna say or how he was gonna react. I know, like, most guys would be, like, really, like, turned off by this idea or be really against it or maybe freak out afterwards, bro, but why won't you fuck my wife, man? I was like, listen, I've just never done anything like this. I remember I told him, I was like, it's not that, like, I didn't expect it, and it kind of caught me off guard. I never did anything like this. It's like, bro, don't worry, I'm not gonna watch. Like, I don't even have to watch or know any details or anything. And I guess, like, I don't know why I wasn't more upfront and just say no, but, like, I was living with them, I had nowhere else to go. I was, like, I don't know, I was just, like, in the moment, and, like, I almost felt like I was a prisoner. Because another factor that was going on, at this point I had learned this, but he wasn't actually into software, he was into selling drugs. At the time I was a huge addict, and they were just giving me drugs and drugs and drugs, and always keeping me doped up or high. And it honestly was a super hard cycle to break out of because I was just always so doped up. He was like, listen man, he goes, we brought you here and we thought things were gonna be different. You were gonna hang out with us and kind of like join our family, which I understand, like there's some miscommunication. I was like, yeah, definitely. And like, don't worry, like I'm gonna start looking for a place and like figuring that out. He was like, oh really, you're just gonna take up and leave now that all this is out, basically? And I was like, well, like, you know, I just want to make sure everything's comfortable, and like, you know, that was the plan, just to kind of be here temporarily anyway. I saw that he was kind of getting upset that he saw like what he wanted and his wife wanted, kind of like leaving the picture with me going. So this is when he got kind of like aggressive and mean. Well, if you just dip on us and go anywhere without saying anything, I'm gonna expect some like restitution, some like payback. And I was like I said, bro, like, they had honestly given me a place to stay and stream. You know, I didn't have to pay any bills while I was there, other than, like, my car payment and stuff. So I was like, you know, I'll try my best. Like, I don't know what I would have done or given at that point, but I was like, you know, whatever I can do, I'll try. And so at that point, he was like, you know what, you can start. Basically, they made me their nanny. And I was, like, taking their kid to school, bringing her home, taking her to the store to get food, groceries, snacks, toys, like, and she would play my Nintendo Switch, and I'd basically just, like, look after her and make sure she'd have, like, a decent day while they were away. selling drugs, doing drugs, and partying like they weren't parents in their late 30s to early 40s. So after that conversation and me starting to pick up all these chores and like nanny duties, it was super awkward around there. There were good times, good conversations, bad times, awkward conversations, and more sexual advances that I had to brush off. And like it was getting to the point where like it was getting super aggressive, super shady and spiteful, and they were saying some like super underhanded shady shit that I was honestly kind of worried about. So like I said, I was texting, calling my mom every single day like, yo, can you please like look all the apartments and houses in North Carolina and see if I can find anything there I can rent that's within city limits so I can have internet and be able to stream. And so the whole time while I'm trying to like avoid all this stuff, bounce around, get through all these like gymnastic like hoops they're making me jump through to like not have sex with them, like my mom is at home clutching it up, finding me an apartment. So this is when it all went really bad. It was about, like I said, this was at the very end of my stay in Texas with them. I was single at the time, so I was like making excuses because the mom, Amy was like, where are you going? Like if I was going to the grocery store to go to the gym or do this, do that, she'd want to know where I was going. She'd want to make an excuse to go with me, why we should go together, we should do this, we should do that. So if I wanted to go like see a girl that I had met in Texas like over the internet or friends or stuff like that, I had to make up excuses. And this came after one time when I was going to hang out with this girl that I knew in Texas, and Amy was like grilling me, and she was like, where you going, who you hanging out with? And I was like, let's go hang out with a friend, blah blah blah. And she's like, is it a girl, blah blah blah. And I was like, it is a girl, and I really don't think that's like, you know, like something we should talk about, a conversation we need to be having. I just think it's kind of awkward seeing that like, you know, our relationship, like you're the wife of my friend, like that's, you know. And that's when she was like, well, hopefully all your stuff is here when you get back, and maybe I won't tell Albert anything, and you'll be fine when you get back, and all your stuff will be intact, and like you'll be able to enjoy your stay in you'll be able to enjoy your stay in Texas, and you won't get injured or hurt, like just some ominous stuff. And they were doing like ominous, low-key, shady stuff like that the whole time. But that one was definitely the worst, all because I wouldn't sleep with them. And I guess like if like they thought when I was moving there that like I understood the obligation, if like that's something people do and I just wasn't aware, and I went to that situation and like they thought I was gonna bone them and I thought I was aware of that, like that's my fault. But like this whole situation just like went way too far. And so I remember that night I texted my mom, I was like, yo, it's getting pretty crazy, you found anything? And she was like, I have found one place. I was like, send me pictures. And I was like, get it tomorrow. And so she was like, yeah, you know, it takes some time, blah, blah, blah. And I called my mom, and I just explained to her the next day, how crazy things were, how wild it was getting. And so she went to that extra effort. She talked to the landlord for me, got my paperwork sent over, did all like the paperwork and legwork so I could have a place and have my rent set up and all my internet and bills set up within like a day or two. And I remember when I was leaving Texas, I didn't tell them because they had gotten so shady and aggressive, and I felt like they would try something if I left, like slicing my tires, breaking my computer, my cat would go missing, so I wouldn't leave. I remember the next day I woke up super early in the morning. I was like pack all my stuff because they wouldn't wake up early. And for whatever reason, Amy had woken up early that morning. She was like, what are you doing? Oh shit. I was like, my grandma's sick and I have to go home. And she's like, you gotta take all your stuff to do that? And I was like, well, I don't know how long she's gonna be sick. I don't know how long I'm gonna need to be there. So I'm gonna need to be able to stream and whatnot. And she was like, you're not coming back, are you? I was like, nope. And she was like staring at me the whole time. I was like, carry the rest of my stuff out. And like giving like this judgmental look. Like she wanted to like kill me. Like stay to say bye to Albert. I was like, look, this is life or death. Like I gotta get home. You know, I gotta get there before, you know, things take a turn. You never know when that can happen. But I appreciate everything, blah, blah, blah. And I got out of there, bro. That's hard. I drove back home to North Carolina. And that's when I moved back to North Carolina. And then shortly after that, Ben moved in with me. And that's when he started streaming with me. And the funniest part about that story is the next day after I left Texas and got home, they were like, when are you coming back? Like blowing my phone up and I wasn't responding. Like they were sending me some like scary, sketchy shit. And I remember when the last text I got from Amy was, they had like a big walk-in closet, and like apparently Jinx, my cat, had been going in the back corner and just shitting. Just left a huge pile of shit for her, like in the back corner for no reason. Like he never does that. Like he always shits in his litter box, but for whatever reason he just knew these people were kind of out there, and so he was just shitting like crazy up in their closet. But yes, guys, that is my Texas story, a little story time, my Texas tea, if you will. Just like I did a lot more in Texas, there's probably a lot more details I left out. But that's kind of like the summary, the synopsis of how the Texas story went down. If you got this far in the video, I do appreciate you watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. As always, it's been your boy DJ Sin, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.